we're always connected and we're always on our screens. So we need time to wind down away from a screen. And it's empirically shown blue light from our phones is one of the biggest contributors physiologically to poor sleep. So we're actually doing an app that tells you not to be on the app, which is kind of an interesting concept. Honestly, think fundamentally, it's all about the ethics and how you act. If you're genuine in how you act in work and life, you really shouldn't have a problem doing either, because, for profit does not change the ethical responsibilities of the leadership or the employees.
Welcome to the Brainwaves podcast by Opus, where we sit down with industry leaders to unpack their journeys, explore key challenges, and talk about how they're shaping the future of behavioral health and healthcare technology. I'm your host, Sean Rickenbacker. Today, we're joined by Tim Lewandowski, CEO of MindLab, a tech for good company launched from the Mental Health Association of San Francisco. Tim's work bridges clinical operations and technology innovation, bringing forward tools that make wellness more accessible worldwide. MindLab's first product, Pocket Kado, developed with Stanford Medicine, uses gamified cognitive behavioral therapy to help improve sleep and mental well-being. In this conversation, we'll explore how MindLab connects nonprofit mission with scalable tech innovation, why sleep plays such a central role in mental health, and what it means to build technology that truly serves people. Tim, welcome to Brainwaves. Again, thanks so much for having this conversation with me. To start, can you share a bit how MindLab began and how it ties into your work with the Mental Health Association of San Francisco?
Sure. Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me. I'm thrilled to be here to talk a bit about MindLab and Pocket Kado. So MindLab Corporation is a direct result of the work we've done to innovate at the Mental Health Association of San Francisco. So for many years, I was a board member of MHASF, and about 2 years ago, joined on as a fractional chief operating officer while I was still working in the medtech space, corporate space, and then recently moved over to full-time chief operations officer at MHASF. And over the past year and a half, we had the opportunity to bring Pocket Kado, which is gamified cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia, into the portfolio of MHASF. And we've been working for a little over a year on the best way to bring this out to the masses and bring this technology to the globe. We've also been struggling with a lot of limitations and reductions in funding in our grant-funded programs that provide peer mental health services across the state of California. So this summer, just a few months ago, was no better time than ever to jump forward and found MindLab Corporation. So MindLab Corporation is a separate entity from MHASF. It is a for-profit C Corp entity. And we did that very specifically because we don't want to have geographical boundaries. We want to be able to offer technologies and solutions globally, but of course, bringing back both the quality of the care that we provide and the innovative solutions, but also to provide endowment and sustaining donations back to MHASF.
I love that. Obviously, we've been talking a little bit before the call, so to bring the audience up to speed, what is Pocket Kado?
Yeah, so Pocket Kado it's an app. It is available on the App Store, Google Play Store. It's gamified cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia. So if you're someone who struggles with sleep or clinically have a diagnosis of insomnia, you probably are very familiar with CBT. So cognitive behavioral therapy is used all over mental health and counseling and services. And it's really focuses on your routines and kind of harnessing control over your mind and setting up routines and positive mindfulness and awareness, self-awareness to better your life and to mitigate the symptoms of whatever particular disorder or manifestation you're having. So insomnia is one of the key targets of cognitive behavioral therapy. If you're familiar at all with CBT-I, you also know that the I should probably stand for inaccessible, because there's just not enough providers out there for everybody who needs it. So one statistic that really just jumps out is in the US alone, the ratio of patients to providers who practice CBT-I is 43,000 to 1. So there's nowhere near enough providers to provide skilled CBT-I to patients. So Pocket Kado brings that to the app form. It makes it accessible. It makes it inexpensive, so it's relatively low cost. Subscriptions are $10 per month. It's fun. It's gamified. It's not just a course that you take and then you're supposed to kind of just remember to do those things in your life. It actually gamifies and rewards you for making positive strides. And the other thing about it is it's gamified. It's fun. Not everybody who has trouble sleeping well has insomnia. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So you may not need to see a qualified clinician to get help with developing healthy sleep hygiene. And that's the idea. This isn't to replace anybody. It's to be a tool in the toolbox of both patients seeking to have better sleep and potentially providers and anybody who works with individuals who could use some help sleeping. So it's really fun. We've gotten a lot of really good feedback about Pocket Kado. Kado is the name of the adorable little koala that you adopt and take care of in the app. So it's got some great features that I'm sure we'll talk through a bit. But yeah, it's been such a fun thing to bring it into the MindLab family, and kind of re-envision it, because the app's been out there for a couple of years. It was developed in partnership with Stanford Med, and it was really focused on business to consumer, so just direct downloads. That, of course, remains our model, but with my background and what my focus is also developing partnerships with clinicians to be a tool for clinicians, make the app better through our clinical advisory board, and then also partner with schools or ministries of health, foreign ministries of health, really anybody who wants to bring kind of this piece of population health to their people.
I love that. I love that. And we talk with a lot of clinicians, owners, etc., at mental health clinics, behavioral health, etc., that work with underserved communities, typically rural. But it sounds like insomnia in general is completely underserved with the 1 in 43,000. We usually see ratios of like 1 to 60, but 1 to 43,000 is insane.
It's huge. And basically that number comes from the fact that most people could use better sleep hygiene. That everybody needs to practice good sleep hygiene, whether you're a little kid. In my home, I have 4 and 6 year old boys, so they're learning how to develop sleep hygiene habits all the way through to adults, busy working adults, parents, and seniors as well. So it is drastically underserved, and there's not really anything out there that gamifies it. There are some awesome apps that teach the tenets of CBT-I, but they're more course based. They're more like if you went to a therapist and you spent 1 hour a couple days a week for several weeks to learn CBT-I. Of course there's value in that, but this is kind of just the fun reminder, and it transcends boundaries, cultures, etc. It takes advantage of a lot of different psychological phenomena, like such as the new parent phenomenon. I mean, you adopt Kado, and your job's to take care of Kado so that he sleeps when he's supposed to sleep and he eats and is outside during the day. That transcends cultures, that it works across age groups, and we think that the price point of just having it be an app that's in your usual arsenal of apps on your phone really can serve anybody with a access to a smartphone or tablet in any location.
I love that. I love that. My wife and I, today's my wife's birthday, actually. So,
Happy birthday.
yep, I'll let her know. For her birthday, I got her a smartwatch specifically that tracks sleep, because that's one thing that she's noticed has been a main friction point for her. And this is something I've been working on a while. So, I already have a smartwatch that does that. So, for her, the main thing is increasing her activity level in order to increase quality of sleep. What are the main components of healthy sleep that Pocket Kado
Yeah.
addresses?
Yeah, I mean you hit it right on the head. It's actually what we do during our waking hours affect our sleeping hours. So it's the quantity and quality of sleep is driven by what we do during the day, and that's exactly what makes Pocket Kado unique. Is this gamified app? It's focused on the 24-hour core loop. You're taking care of Kado in 24-hour cycles. So to kind of take you through what the workflow is, basically you set up Kado, you get some important sleep tips when you first join on from our virtual therapist, Dr. Kiki. and then you start your day, right? So if you wake up in the morning, you pick up your phone, you're going to get an alert. Start your day, take a minute for mindfulness, and now Kato needs to eat breakfast. You purchase, with using Dream Miles, you purchase food for Kato and you blend him up a smoothie and Kato drinks it. The cool thing about the app is then Kato's happy, he ate, he goes on his way. So he goes out to have adventures and you go to work, school, whatever it is that you do that day. And you don't need to interact with the app at all during the working day. So Kato just goes and has adventures, and you come back. Around dinner time, you get a mindfulness prompt that says, okay, start winding down, prepare yourself for sleep. So you kind of do your eating, your nighttime routine, whatever that is. And then closer to your scheduled bedtime, you get prompts to actually do mindfulness and do a full wind down before sleep. So we use the Asian tradition of releasing lanterns as a mindfulness exercise. So it takes you to the lantern app, and then there's a whole bunch of different clinically backed, clinically proven mindfulness techniques and questions, and it prompts you to journal. So then you can journal and you release the app up into the air, and then you put Kato to sleep. And the most powerful part of the app really resonates for me, probably for you and your wife and most working professionals and parents, is you're going down for the night, your phone should go down for the night. So you put Kato to sleep and you put your phone down, and you earn Dream Miles, which is your currency, for every minute Kato's asleep. Kato being asleep is equated with you not picking up your phone and doing something on your phone. And so that really works for me because I get chimes in the middle of the night and I roll over and I start looking at my phone and I can start reading an email or scrolling. So if you do pick up your phone and start scrolling, you get a notification you woke Kato up. And nobody wants to wake this precious little Kato koala up who's supposed to sleep 22 hours a day in nature. And he's uncomfortable and you got to put him back to bed. And so it's positive reinforcement that you're doing a positive thing. And then it also gives you that reinforcement when, hey, don't pick up your phone and start doom scrolling. Go back to bed. You could always go back to the mindfulness exercises. And then to bring it home, that 24 hours, those Dream Miles you earned at night are Dream Miles that you use to feed Kato. So you can buy more expensive food, more quality food in the morning, and that gives Kato the opportunity to have a more robust adventure day. So it really focuses just on that whole cycle and to have healthy habits. And it kind of directly loops back to our idea as global tech for good, right? We have so much technology, and one of the unintended negative consequences, we're always connected and we're always on our screens. So we need time to wind down away from a screen. And it's empirically shown blue light from our phones is one of the biggest contributors physiologically to poor sleep. So we're actually doing an app that tells you not to be on the app, which is kind of an interesting concept. And I think that's what makes it fun because people get it pretty quickly. Like, yep, that's right. I need to put my phone down.
Absolutely, absolutely love that. It's one thing that I've been thinking about recently has been mindfulness about what I eat, what I consume, the media I consume, and then of course sleep and activity. It's great to see, like you said, tech for good.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't have to drive us into this point of, addiction and doom scrolling, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
that, most things are actually, designed with behavioral science in mind to keep us hooked. And so sometimes we need that technology that's always in our hands to give us a little bit of a reminder.
Absolutely.
And that's really what we're here to do.
Absolutely. Tell me more about. Obviously, we had that conversation before this call with the Mental Health Association of San Francisco and how Mind Labs came about. Tell me more about that and your mission for Tech for Good.
Yeah, sure. Sure. So, Mental Health Association of San Francisco is an incredible organization. It's more than 75 years old, and it's been serving not only the San Francisco and Bay Area communities for that long, but really has become a leader in peer support and peer supported mental health services across the state of California. Really, most famously, the California peer run warm line is a product of MHASF. It started in 2014. I think it was a handful of peer counselor volunteers. I think it was four people answering phones for people who needed to talk to somebody. They weren't necessarily in crisis. They didn't want to call, you know, a 988 line, but wanted to just talk through with somebody who understood. And that's how the peer warm line grew. And through awesome levels of support, and the tens of millions of dollars from the state of California, was a really forward thinking approach to bring this alternative kind of ancillary model using peer specialists, peers who identify as having had experiences and needing the very services that they're providing to people. So it has grown immensely month over month, year over year. If we look at the last month that we have the full data for, there were 42,000 calls to the peer run warm line in July of 2025 alone. So the demand is at its highest. We're seeing demand across all different socioeconomic groups, cultural groups, and it goes hand in hand with what's happening in the world. So there's a baseline need. Everybody needs somebody to talk to. And then you throw in there everything that's geopolitically that's happening in the world, natural disasters. So, wildfires in Los Angeles, our calls peaked, and we had so many people calling in about concerns about not only wildfires, but global warming, climate change, everything. Recent activity, ICE activity, has driven demand in the Hispanic communities across California, and the rates are high, and there's no sign of that demand going down. And so the unfortunate piece is, like most nonprofits, there were a lot of budget cuts to the services we provide. We're really thankful the state of California was able to earmark some funding to continue the warm line, but it's really a fraction of the funding we've had in previous years. And so it's unfortunate that with the state fiscal year starting July 1st, unfortunately, our month of highest demand was also the month where we had our lowest funding in the past several years. We can focus on that. We can dwell on the reduction in grant money, or we can say, how do we innovate to bring this back? And so I'm very proud to say that, our leadership team at MHASF is focusing on grant applications. We're focusing on internal efficiencies, how to drive the number of calls that we can take with a modified schedule and albeit reduced workforce, but also how do we sustain MHASF and not be completely tied to only grant funding, which we know we can't rely on. And things like MindLab are a fantastic way to do that. It gives us the ability to put our positive innovative entrepreneurial spirit into something that doesn't have geographical borders, and tie it into the mission. Success at MindLab, and the more people download and use Pocket Kado first directly, the more we can subsidize Pocket Kado access for communities in need. Talk to a lot of school groups that have a lot of teens that would really benefit from this, but cost is a barrier. Kind of follow that model that great companies before us have had, kind of the buy one, give one idea. Not literally buy one, give one, but literally, your money towards subscription allows us to subsidize. And then furthermore, success from MindLab means endowment and donations back to MHASF.
I love that. It sounds like a cycle of help more people so you can help more people. I love that.
Exactly. And I mean, it resonates back to, my days when I have a clinical background in orthopedics and physical rehabilitation, and then went through and was able to lead lots of awesome, groups of clinicians in different operational models. And it's always that struggle of charging for something. Like, oh man, we wish we could just take care of everybody and didn't have to do the insurance game. And the flip side of that is, right, but if we don't keep the lights on, we can't serve anyone. So we have to know the rules of, the game that we're in. And all we can do is, I think, if you put the patient first at the end of the day, whether you're doing an app or service or seminars, courses, or direct peer services work, if you have the end goal of helping patients, it can work out. You just got to be open-minded and take advantage of opportunities.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One thing I am curious of, because you definitely have a unique perspective regarding this, how do you maintain balance or I guess, what is the real difference maintaining operations with a nonprofit organization such as the Mental Health Association of San Francisco and an organization like MindLab that is meant to supplement?
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Nonprofit, for profit, on the surface, like how could you do both? Like how do you the lines blur? I honestly think fundamentally it's all about the ethics and how you act. If you're genuine in how you act in work and life, you really shouldn't have a problem doing either, because, for profit does not change the ethical responsibilities of the leadership or the employees. You're selling something, you're providing a service, you're providing something to people to solve a problem. That's, at the end of the day, that's business. In the for-profit space, people reimburse you for that product or service to alleviate pain or discomfort. That's really the goal. For a nonprofit, there's funding that comes from other sources. It's like healthcare, in general. It's one of the unique ways that you serve the world, because the payer generally is not the patient at the end of the day. And that's the case in most of US healthcare too, and really globally. So I think it just comes down to keeping in mind what is most important. Where I see the big difference is you think really strategically in both of your roles, whether it's nonprofit or for profit. The way you can pursue those, innovative interests is different based on your setting. And so there's so much you can do to innovate. And it really just innovation in the nonprofit world, you look within, right? How do you innovate? How do you do more with less? How do you empower the people doing the hard work on the front lines? How do you, as an executive, make their workflows faster? Do you look to, reduce costs in your partnerships? Do you make things more efficient? Can you partner with tools with like-minded organizations? And on the for-profit side, if you don't look internally first, you're sorely mistaken. So it's the first rung defense is the same thing. How do we work more efficiently and do more with less? And ultimately, that's just empowering your people that work on the front lines. And then you just have a little bit more flexibility in the corporate world to say, maybe there are markets where we can charge a premium price for this product, or maybe there is a market for a premium product that not only solves the problem for somebody, but allows them to then, you know, bring that forward and solve the problem for somebody else. So I think, it's kind of a meandering way to say, I don't see too much difference, but I really don't. I think it's just act genuinely, act in the interest of the people that you're going to serve, whether you call them patients, participants, or customers. And you really can't go wrong.
I love that. I love that. People that listen to the podcast regularly hear me talk about this, but I feel like I'm constantly chasing that authenticity, that genuineness in the day to day. It's like you got to stay true to yourself and your values, regardless of what type of project it is. Like you said, nonprofit or for profit. If you are a genuine individual, it's the same, same, just different, right?
It really is. Yeah. And I mean, your success as a leader is most dependent on, how do you channel that in a way that resonates with not only your customers or your patients, but with your team. And you either walk the walk or you don't. It's pretty clear. So that's what it's all about. Yeah, I think one other comment on that. I think it's really interesting. In my career, I've been able to work with a lot of startup leaders as well, that start out with this wonderful clinical idea that's going to change the world, literally change how doctors fix patients. And all the noise makes it so difficult. So the other piece of success is you could be really ethical and you can be so focused on your mission, but then the noise comes in. I got to keep, I do have to keep the lights on. I got to pay people. I got to make sure they have good careers. How do you do that? That's just another level of, how do I really be pragmatic in how I lead? So it's another opportunity that I have with my background to try to live that every day, try to teach that in the groups that I work with, and then, partner with other like-minded startups trying to build tech for good, where they have some stumble blocks or they need to develop their own way to be pragmatic. That's what we're also here to help with. So it's not just the product, it's also helping like-minded companies as well.
I love that. I love that. And like you said, or we've talked about, helping more people so you can help more people. The same goes with partnerships. You find other like-minded organizations, and you together are able to help more and more people. Absolutely love that.
Yes, that's the name of the game, right?
Yep, yep. And it's same with Opus. Not to plug Opus, but our whole thing is trying to make things easier for the clinicians so they can help more people. Obviously, I'm not helping somebody as a marketing person on that degree, but I love the idea of just helping more people find that care.
But you are, right? Because we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
And so from the marketing piece, right? Marketing is not just selling something,
Mhm.
it's reaching people and it's democratizing information. And so, that's why I'm just so happy to have the opportunity to come on with you today and to, we'll take any opportunity I get because people need to learn about what's happening out there because it's easy to get caught up in your circles, right? That, for instance, our discussion about a podcast led to potential how could we use an EHR tool to make that very service that's getting funding cuts, the warm line, how could we use something to make it more efficient?
Absolutely.
If we weren't having the conversation, that thought may never, that light bulb may have never gone off in one of our heads, right? So it's very urgent, very interesting.
Absolutely, and I love that. I appreciate the sentiment there. Obviously, I feel very disconnected, but it's great to hear um, from like-minded individuals. We are almost at time. I want to be respectful. I know that you're super busy, but I always ask this question: do you have any book recommendations?
Yes, yes. A book that I just finished that has just made a huge impact on me is, now it sounds very corporate, but it's Wealthy and Well Known. It's a really interesting read. It's by the group behind Brand Builders. And it kind of speaks exactly to what we were just saying. It's about building your personal brand, not to monetize it, because you're a messenger of whatever you're good at, right? You're most uniquely, I think on the front of the book, if you take the dust cover off, it says like you're most uniquely poised to serve that which you were before. So if you've been through it before, somebody's probably struggling, so you can share your insight. And so it doesn't necessarily, sure, it's a book about building your brand and being a subject matter expert, but the end of the day is you are a subject matter expert in something. Don't overlook it and share what you have. And so I don't know. I highly recommend it to anybody who's in this space because I think you really focus in on what does a product do. I think I said, like alleviating pain or discomfort. Like what is what you do? Why does it exist? Probably for that. Whether you sell it or you just do it on a day-to-day basis. And I just think it's such a neat concept to put it in a business framework that resonates with everybody.
I love that, and I will definitely check it out. I read a lot of these sort of books. This is by Rory and AJ Vaden, correct?
Yep. Yeah, yeah. They run an organization called Brand Builders. It's like a brand consulting firm, but they've got experience in various industries, and I think kind of fed up with the corporate cutthroat lifestyle and said, what are we actually doing, and how can we help others do it? And boom, there you go.
I love that. I love that. I appreciate the recommendation, Tim, and thanks again for taking the time to have this conversation with me. I think our audience will appreciate your great insights.
Sean, thank you so much. And any listeners, please feel free to reach out, LinkedIn or our website, mindlabmh.com. Check out what we're doing. We'd love to share.